So they say prospecting is hard. And one of the areas that they find hard sometimes is the outreach. And one of those areas of outreach could be email prospecting. So is it really hard? Well, let's take some time and check it out. What's up? Good afternoon, everyone. If it is that you're seeing this for the first time, welcome to another episode of What's the Deal? And today we're going to be talking about what's the deal with email prospecting or email outreach. What is it? What is it all about? Is it really dying? Is it really hard? There's a lot of conversation about things like email open rates. As a sales practitioner, as someone who also does email as part of his sales outreach, I can only give it to you from my perspective. But because as a practitioner, what I do is that I pay attention to a lot of the things that's happening in the industry. And I like to be able to bring back actual examples to you all, because those are the things that I believe we could identify and pick out the good and the bad and the indifferent that's in there. So today, what is it that we're talking about? Today, our conversation today is that we're going to be analyzing email prospecting, and we're going to be breaking down some bad emails. Now, at the time that I did this, it was specifically focused on the bad email side of things, but I like to have a balance. So we want to understand what's the deal with these. I'm going to break them down, but we also want to understand what's the deal with some of the good ones, and exactly as to what is email prospecting and why is it important. Back in the day, prospecting had two approaches. Initially, it was making a phone call. Then it was along the lines of maybe door-to-door knocking and that type of stuff. And with the advent of technology, it started to be emails. And then you had all these nice creative ways of sending different types of emails. And now it's transitioned into the use of social media, because now you have social selling and stuff. And now that we are in the space of technology, you will find that technology really holds, or social media and marketing and stuff like that really holds most of the audience. You will hear most gurus or other sales professionals talk about the main thing is really putting yourself out there as your main part of the email prospecting strategy. You may have some people who might tell you things like cold calling and email outreach is dead. I don't necessarily believe that, because I've had different levels of success, and it's really not on the strategy, but I think it has a lot to do with the customer, and I also think it has a lot to do with how we go about doing the outreach. So what we're going to look at is that we're going to take a look at some of the emails, and these emails are going to kind of highlight why some folks are not having any success at all. But as we do that, let's kind of get into the thing of what is email prospecting, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. So this is what we're going to come back and analyze, because this is what a lot of people use to say that, hey, well, we shouldn't be doing much more emails anymore. We should only be focusing on social, etc., etc. But I do believe that everything has its place, and there's no one strategy over the other, because a lot of this has to do with the customer. And while right now there is a lot of success through social selling, through social media, it doesn't mean that the other aspects of it is bad. So we're going to come back to this a little bit, but I wanted to show you all this here, because I believe this is a metric that let me say it like this. I don't like just talking about stuff without having some stats to show, because we could talk about the stats as well. And I also don't want to just be talking off the cuff about, well, to me, things that may not be 100% relevant to to folks because I want it to be as tangible as possible. So let me see how best I can make this tangible for you, right? So what is prospecting? What is a prospecting email and why it's important? So let me talk about that a little bit, right? So a prospecting email is an email that you use to really begin to reach out to your customers. Sometimes this customer may or may not be familiar with you. A prospecting email may show up at different stages of the sales journey. It may show up whether if the person reaches out to you first or they show that interest in certain areas. You may have a customer you may have a sales rep who may reach out after they see some sort of trigger, or it could be a brand new email. Like that's why you have something called cold emails. That's why you have something called warm emails. At the end of the day, it's a prospecting email because there hasn't really been a formal conversation. Why it's important is because it can do a number of different things based upon where the level of interaction is. Sometimes that interaction could be really cold or it could be very warm. In some instances, it could actually be very hot. And a lot of the times too, that happens based upon the customer's journey. And that is something too that we have to pay attention to. That's why the AIDA principle is also so important. And the AIDA principle also plays a big role in terms of how you prospect, or how you send those emails out. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. So prospecting across the board, but prospecting emails is just one of many different strategies that sales professionals, entrepreneurs, etc., marketers too, they have in their arsenal. So again, it's not something that we just have to rely on as it being that one thing, but now it's one thing out of all the other things that you can use. And based upon where that customer shows up in your journey, that's where you can now jump up to say, hey, when this happens, we want to send out an email. Right now, sometimes your emails could be automated. Sometimes your email could be manual. Again, it all comes down to you. All right. Why are they important? Well, I think I just touched on that because, again, it falls into particular areas of your strategy. And key features of a good prospecting email would be things like your personalization, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It could be your value proposition as well. Actually, I want to bring this up here as the question. So the question is, like, what are some key features of a good prospecting email, right? And where that is concerned, key features of the prospecting email has to come from the objective of the email. So it's not just a matter of just grabbing an email and throwing it out there to say, well, we want to just see how many people that we can reach with this particular email. But it's really along the lines of having a specific objective to said email or to the recipient of these emails, providing that you have done some homework on the back end. Now, we're going to talk about that, a little bit of homework as well. But again, the objective for me with this series is that we want to try to use as much examples as possible. So I'm always looking around. My eyes are always open. My ears are always open. And I think I've found enough. I've been storing up on enough of these things to be able to bring it to you. All right. So as it relates to the emails, I would also say, even for me and my team, we send some emails out. Sometimes some emails hit, sometimes our emails don't hit. But what I want to make sure is that I am kind of working with the best practices of what good email is supposed to look like. All right. So we're going to take a look at a couple emails. And the first email that we're going to look at is on the web development outreach side. So this is one of 4 examples as it relates to emails. So I get a lot of emails time to time from different people offering different things. And what I do is I pay attention to it. I actually respond to some of them. I would respond to some of them, letting them know I'm not interested at this time. And the reason why I do that too is because I'm a sales rep myself. So I know what it feels like if people reach out to you and you don't get a response. So I just do the courteous thing sometimes of responding. Sometimes I don't get to touch all. And sometimes some emails come in another inbox. We have a generalized inbox that it goes into. So if it is that we had to analyze this email, let's analyze this email from a web developer reaching out to us via our websites, right? So if we look on the left-hand side, we will see here that these particular emails, they sort of look the same. But what the interesting thing is, to me, it came from 2 different people. Now, this could come from 2 different organizations, but at the end of the day, these emails look very identical. And the reason why I have them marked up the way they're marked up with the arrows and the words is because these are my notes, right? So I'm kind of scribbling on this thing. And one of the things that I realized that was missing from the email, if I want to start off with the very first thing, if we look at the one on the right-hand side, generic. So a generic email address. So one of the first things I like to do when I pay attention to somebody's email or when somebody's reaching out to me is that I like to identify who is emailing me. So I look at things like their email signature, and then I look at where the email is coming from. And if I see things like 2018@gmail.com, I'm not sure I want to touch that email because, well, first and foremost, if we pay attention to cybersecurity, I'm not too sure what I'm clicking into, right? And again, when we look at what this email looks like, it's the email is a little dirty. Now, this is the actual email, right? The only thing I did was circles and arrows. The only thing that I did was circles and arrows. That's why I have everything highlighted. If you pay attention to what this looks like, the first one says, sorry to bother you during the time. But what time is it are we talking about? And the reason why it's in brackets is because what they didn't do is that they did not put in a specific time. It could have been this year, this evening, this morning, over the weekend. So this in itself is a template, right? And then the other side of it indicated that, but I noticed a few errors. I noticed how they have it highlighted, and of course it's in bold. I could only assume that you're doing that to sort of capture my attention, which to an extent it did, but I really looked at it because I felt that the email was a very untidy email. All right. On your website, would you like me to send you a screenshot and a list of those errors? No, right? And again, I'm not saying this to be bad, but notice how they have things like a free audit report. But most importantly, notice where the email is being sent to. It's being sent to my generalized inbox. So it says info@OPAAT-SWY. Who is the recipient of that email? It could be a marketing team, it could be an admin assistant. It's definitely not me sometimes, because I have someone who's kind of managing that inbox. And that inbox doesn't necessarily receive a lot of good emails. Sometimes we get leads on it. And it's strangely enough, sometimes we get leads on it either on a Monday or Friday. Real weird, right? But during the course of the week, we get a lot of junk type emails. But when we see emails like this, we're not really going to fight up behind it too much because it doesn't really say anything. And if we look at email on the left and email on the right, it's supposed to come from two separate people, but they're both sort of written the same way. Who's going to pay attention to that? So one of the first things I would always say is that your personalization is important. You really can't be generic, and kind of make sure that you're coming from a company. Also, yes, I blocked out the signature, but the signatures were also very generic as well. All right, so the signature, I just going with the basic stuff right here, but this definitely is not the right way to send out an email as it relates to this, right? Then as it says here, if we're looking at the second one, I noticed a few errors on your website. To me, as I said, the reason why I have that with the arrow there, I've seen this before. So what happens when somebody sees something over and over as a recipient, you skip it because there's nothing that stands out to you as it relates to that. All right. So again, in emails like this, I don't really recommend people do stuff like this because it's never going to capture my attention. And to be honest with you, I didn't feel as though I needed to respond to this one. I just kind of marked this up to go in junk from now on. And that these are contributing factors to emails. Now, there are a couple of things that could have been done better as it relates to that, right? So I gave it a score of a 2. The strengths, it highlighted website issues, yeah, because you're talking about particular things, right? It acknowledges a need for improvement, okay. But again, if you look at the weaknesses, generic tone, it's sending stuff out to the thing. There's no value proposition tied inside of there. You all know I love to talk about value propositions, all right? Lack of specificity. Like, what exactly is the issue here, right? And again, by the mispersonalization, here's the problem with the mispersonalization. If they took the time to Google OPAAT-SWY, they will find me. That's why that could never get, that's why it gets a 2. The attempt to get a score for that, putting together an email to get a score for that, but that's the most that I can give you. And then there, well, of course, the suggestions just speaks to referencing specific errors, because again, those things may or may not be important to me. But if you tell me specifically what the issue is, then then I could maybe send it to my web developer, or then I could maybe call you to find out what's happening as it relates to this thing. But again, leaving it the way that you're leaving it, that's not going to work for me, right? So that's example number 1. Example number 2 is SEO outreach. So I'm dealing with these 2 first, right? Now this person it took a little bit more effort, right? But again, if we pay attention to the email, and I want to bring this up for you all, right? Because I like to get kind of large on the inside, right? So let me see what I can do here. So if we pay attention to the email, again, very generic, 25698@gmail.com. Who the hell is that? I am not going to respond. This could be spam. Notice what Gmail is suggesting to me here, right? I don't want to, it could be suspicious. So I'm not going to even touch it. So this is problem number 1 as it relates to sending out that email. It's always good if it's coming from a proper domain, or even if you have a good name like Lyndon Braffett at Gmail, but these kind of overly creative email things, that's not going to work for anybody, and you're kind of hurting your chances of being, The other one too that I looked at here was where it says, I'm sure this email will bring you the actual status of your website, which will enhance your online business. Well, that was pretty assumptive, because who knows if I even care? Like most people, I'm just getting close to say this one, right? Suppose I don't care. Suppose I just want to have a website for having a website sake, right? So again, you can't always go with the assumptions, because the assumptions in those emails, it could put people off, right? So again, but you see, me I'm a little different because I'm paying attention to the email, right? And then there are other things inside of here that was kind of good. Like there was some strategy that was mentioned inside of here, which I identified it was pretty strategic in terms of best keywords, etc. This was a little bit more of an attempt in this particular email, right? But again, if you notice, there still wasn't any personalization that happened here. And again, where the email came from, they immediately hurt their chances of me even trying to respond to them, because stuff like that will go straight into junk mail from now on. Especially because I trust Gmail, I trust Google. If they're telling me that, hey, this might be a little suspicious, I might read it through, but I may not do anything else with it after that, right? So this was a digital marketer. And again, the reason why I'm doing this too is because I know that there are organizations in B2B spaces that provide services to companies here in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, and I don't want them to be making mistakes like these. So that's why I'm pulling these up, analyze it. Now, I do think that this one is okay, but again, see that email thing, see this report to spam thing, yeah, that's not going to work with me. That's not going to work too well with me at all, so I don't think that has a very good email to be working with. So if I had to make any suggestions here, I would definitely say that I'm giving it a little bit more of a score than the last one, right? Or than the last 2. Hey JB, hey Amali. So Amali, I just touching a quick what Amali would have said quickly. She would have mentioned that no personalization for email marketing in 2025. Yeah, keep the personalization relevant to the tool. And we have my boy Jared in the house, and Jared is actually saying, let's pick up on this. The group I spoke to this week, I mentioned that email marketing is one skill they should learn this year. Totally agree. But again, personalization, how we go about doing it, etc. Right? So I felt some of the weaknesses that was too assumptive, right? And there wasn't much of a trigger. I would think also that yes, no personalization, and there was no depth. Like, what is the impact to my business? And there wasn't even a matter of what I'm interested or not in terms of having this particular conversation, right? So again, research, which is always good. As a matter, I could give you a little spoiler alert now. You're going to find that research is one thing that's going to stay at the forefront of all of these suggestions moving forward, because most instances, research is one of the key factors to creating better emails, right? Taking some time to research the organization is a key factor to really how you go about sending the emails. Like I do a lot of research on, before I go to the next one, I do a lot of research on companies. I would read a company's annual report. I would try to see how I could read before ChatGPT. I would try to go through specific areas of their reports just to see where they had their gains, maybe where they had their losses. I remember in 2023, I was reading through an insurance company's annual report, and I saw that they wanted to improve from a customer centricity side of things. We have services that could support that, so we did the outreach. Guess what happened? We got the meeting. We got a series of meetings. It did not close, but it worked. The outreach worked. As a matter of fact, what happened with that is they liked what we had, but I came in late. So I should have done that a little bit earlier. But I'm saying that to say that research and the way you structure the emails to go out to the right people will get you the meeting that you want. And again, we'll come back to the first slide that I showed with the metrics. So because I want you to understand that email prospecting or any prospecting must have an outcome. 4 things that we try to focus on when we're working with clients: leads, meetings, proposals, close. Whether it's close won or close loss, is close, right? I try not to be too fancy. We just focus on that, however the customer calls it in their business, but we just break it down into that, and then we work on coaching on those things, all of the strategies, all of the metrics, etc. So as we have it here, these are the things that I felt that could have been better as it relates to the thing and the score, right? So let's move on. Now this one might actually surprise you all. This one kind of flabbergasted me a little bit because, well, you know what? Let's just go into it and you all would understand why, all right? So I got these emails. I got a series of emails from an organization, and the organization sent me some really cool looking emails, but they sent me these emails offering me something, and they did not do any research whatsoever. Now, for those of you all who know me, if you're paying attention to what's on the screen, then it might stand out to you immediately. For those of you all who do not know me, well, I'll kind of get into it, right? But let's kind of go from here, right? So I'm going to break it down, but I'm not going to tell you exactly as to what it is as yet. All right, I'm not going to tell you exactly as to what is it. Let's go with the first one, right? So generic, it says, as the founder and CEO of said organization, right, you must be well aware of the challenges that come with managing customer relationship effectively. Is your current CRM software truly delivering the results you desire? Well, yes. If you want me to answer that question, right? And then of course they went further down into kind of offering a pitch. And so this was email number 1. Email number 2, again, it said the same thing, right? So I didn't respond to the first one, but it was also very repetitious. As a founder, you understand. You don't know if I understand. Tell me, be specific. Don't assume I understand what you think I should understand. Sales outreach, let me say it like this. Sales outreach is your opportunity to stand out. Sales outreach is your opportunity to really have you focus on honing in to really capturing the customer's attention. So if you're sending out an email, ladies and gents, make sure that you do a damn good job in understanding. Again, we can't be generic in talking all this fluffy stuff. Like it, I call myself a lead consultant. My bio and other things would have CEO and stuff like that. I kind of cringe sometimes when people reading out the bio because I'm a cool person. So going with all those fancy assumptions of we cannot be assuming. that I understand whatever this is, or whatever it is that you want to tell me. Tell me what you want to tell me. But what was happening here was mostly, it was more of a generic style thing. Because again, if you look at, we address common pain points. What are the pain points specifically that you're addressing? You may have 10 pain points that you could address. You didn't even talk about one. Or should I just assume that it is what it is? And then right from here, you go from here and you go straight into a pitch. Hey, we'll be offering 40% off. Okay, well, you're offering 40% off. All right, let's look at another one. Because I got four emails from this particular person, right? So let's go back to here now. So these are emails 3 and 4. It goes again. Let me just make sure I am on the, want to make sure that I'm on the right. Right, so let's go to emails 3 and 4 now. Emails 3 and 4 is sort of saying the same thing, right? This one says, I've reached out a couple of times. Yeah, you have. You have, and I have not responded to you. I've not responded to you because I feel as though you have a pair of kahunas on you that feels that I should just respond to you because you're clearly not doing your homework. Clearly not doing your homework, all right? And you are referencing certain things here. Your first paragraph alone should indicate to you why you shouldn't email me. But anyway, let's continue. Our platform is designed to alleviate the pain points businesses face. What are those pain points? You have an excellent opportunity, sales rep. And again, I'm not saying this to celebrate how bad this is, but I just want you all to understand that these emails, when people talk about email rates going down, you know why it's going down? Because the email is not good. Sometimes you just have to focus on what we need to do to make the emails better. All right. So what are the pain points? Again, missed opportunity to be compelling, because you use the word compelling here. So it's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of, a lot of big stuff. And again here, and this is where I'll kind of say what I have to say. Yeah, you promise that this is your last email. Cool, no problem. I mean, those are like closing emails at the end of a sequence, as a sales sequence, right? We address the pain points. Again, what are your pain points, sales reps? Tell me what, tell me what the pain point is. What should I be paying attention to? Forget the fact, and I'm going to say it here, forget the fact that you are trying to sell someone who is a HubSpot partner, Salesforce. I'm going to look totally past that, because you didn't do your homework, because I should never be receiving these emails. Or is it that you're just that proud and you feel as though by you sending me these emails, I should say, shit, I should just drop HubSpot and just come straight across to Salesforce. That's what's going on here. You understand? Because here's how this email could have gone. And I want to share something with you, all right? There are specific tools. Let me say this. Let me come close to you all to say this. Forget the fact that I am a HubSpot partner. Let's just say if I was a HubSpot customer, how those emails could have been different. And I think Amali would have an appreciation of this, because there are tools that you can use to scrub the internet, and it can tell you what tools the customer might be using. So if you see that that's the case, then you could actually, and if you want to tackle me as a HubSpot customer, then that is a totally different type of email. I have no problem that the person sent the email, but your email could be different because you didn't recognize that I am a HubSpot partner first and foremost. Okay, but then your emails isn't speaking to things like, notice that you might be using HubSpot. We just wanted to know as to if it is I believe you're getting the value. There's a lot of things. You could even use the thing that there's a lot of buzz right now between HubSpot and Salesforce. Here are 3 comparisons that most people don't know, and you could be a little bit biased to Salesforce because that's what you're selling. The fisherman sells the best fish, so you sell your Salesforce fish. I'll listen to that. But by still sending these generic emails, it's showing me you didn't pay attention to who the hell I was. So you just sent it out that way. The bad part about that too is that you wasted the company's time and resources. Whoever you are working for, you would have reported that, yeah, I sent out 10 emails. But one of those emails was a ridiculous, like I shouldn't even be in your list. But you sent it out nonetheless. Right? So your report shows that you're prospected 10, but I don't know. And if these are the types of emails that you are sending out, I can't say what type of response you are going to be getting back, because these are not good emails. So if I'm doing an analysis, I give this guy a score 2.5. Yeah, because I'm just going with what's in the middle. Yo, I'm a HubSpot partner. You're definitely talking to the wrong person. You are definitely talking to the wrong person. So I know, so I think it's Ashley, if I'm saying your name correctly. If I didn't, say my apologies. Right? So I know you said you genuinely ignore reading these emails. I don't spend time reading them. And I could agree with that. I feel you with that as well. Again, for me, sometimes I read them only because of what I do, because I believe that if people are saying, poor emails or whatever, when people use metrics of emails are no good or whatever it is, it's my job to understand why. And when I look as why, I think that these are the reasons why, right? Because somebody didn't take the time to teach this guy how to do proper research. And if you're working for a company like Salesforce, or you're working for an agency that's a Salesforce partner, then you're supposed to know how to use certain tools to scrub through the internet to get the right research so that you'll be able to put out the right messages. Anyway, all right. Yeah, Marley, they either they know or they don't know that I'm part of the orange team. And as for my boy JB, he's seeing 0 out of 10 no research. Yeah, you're a tough marker. I still give him 2 out of 5, or 2.5 out of 5. But yeah, you're not going to go anywhere with stuff like that, So let's go on to the next one. So the last one I want to share with you all is actually this one. I really like it, right? I'll share with you why I liked it, because I never expected to get it from this type of organization, right? And JB, this might actually surprise you as well. Same for you, Amali. But I actually got an email marketing email plus a prospecting phone call from a hardware. Now, don't ask me where they got the name from, but it caught me off guard, to be honest, right? And I was kind of pleased by the email. When I really took the time to understand the email, I was really pleased with the approach that the sales rep took, because I never expected a hardware to be doing this. And I felt that it was a genuine approach for the first time that I'm seeing it as a sales consultant, right? So let's take a look at this. So this one is an email that comes from, I'll give you the name of the company. I'll name drop the company after, right? Because I think this is yeah, JB, this is Trinidad and Tobago, right? So I'll name drop the company after, but I actually got a really nice series of emails. Again, it caught my attention because of what they were offering. Again, the one thing that stood out was that it was a hardware. And then the subject line was pretty cool. It said drive employee engagement at OPAAT-SWY. Now again, they may not know this because there may not be this type of public information from my website on the internet, but my company is real small. So I didn't fit. But when I got the phone call from the person and we had the conversation, I was able to explain to that gentleman why I may not be the best fit, right? So I got the email and I like the fact that the email really spoke about breaking things along the lines of the employees, the offer. It dropped some social proof in terms of the type of companies it's already doing work with. And then when I come across here now, I like the fact that they offered some value propositions. I felt it was really, really cool. I mean, I was looking to poke holes in it, to be honest with you, but I couldn't. It's not 100% the best email. There's always some room for improvement, but I still find that this was actually pretty good because no two emails were the same. So in terms of things like enhancing your employees' quality of life, that's a value prop. That's a value proposition, because happy employees means that they work better, the productivity is going to increase, and good employees impact good customer service, even though what they may be offering isn't anything directly in the office. They're offering basically an affiliate kind of program, so that through the organization could sign up with the hardware, and the hardware will offer the employees like Digicel, right? You become a thing, and employees through the affiliate program, the employees get discounts and special pricing and purchasing plans and that type of stuff. So I felt that this was really, really cool. I liked it. All right. And then there was another one here. There were two more coming out of the email. We kind of get back to this. Right, that I felt, again, there were little things that I saw that I liked. So in this one, there was a nice little call to action. Again, no email was the same. And I like this one because it gave a little bit of a fear of missing out. Now, I want to indicate this too, right? I do like the timing of this, because this came out around August of last year. So I had this, and August leads straight into December, which is when everybody sometimes wants to either do their renovations, they might be getting their bonuses. So I could understand why this email came out at the time, or the outreach came out at the time. But what was cool with this is that I felt that it was a nice, genuine reach, because to me, whether the company came up with the idea or just the sales rep came up with the idea, I felt look at this one. I felt that just the idea alone was thoughtful, because it speaks of employee benefits programs. Who would think that a warehouse would be thinking of offering something through an affiliate program? So part of your employee benefit program is having certain things, so through the hardware. So it's almost like a loyalty program kind of thing. Right, so acknowledging and appreciating their hard work, 50% off on delivery, and don't let this opportunity slip through the cracks. So again, they're kind of using the fear of missing out thing, trying to drive some level of urgency, So I liked this particular email, and y'all could tell me what y'all think from what I'm showing you all here, right? Because I felt that this was different, and I say I get a lot of emails. I got a lot of emails from companies. I get phone calls from people. I'll maybe break down some calls. Unfortunately, I don't have recordings of those calls, but I'll break down some calls that I got from, wouldn't call the names, right? But yeah, as I say, I pay attention to what's coming in my inbox, because I want to be able to now take these things and I want to bring them back to the public, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, because I believe these things are important. I want people to see, hey, this is what a good email looks like. So like I was saying last week, this is what good looks like. Those 4 emails. What really worked for me though was the phone call, because the guy didn't just use emails alone, he called. And during whether it was between email 2 and 4, there was a phone call, there was a conversation that was had, and I was able to explain to him my business. But this is the powerful part about emails, and this is the point I want to make. Me, I'm not leaning on any other professional who's out there saying this, that, and the third. The point I want to make with this is, I scored this one 4. Right? I felt that this was it. Y'all can drop in the comments what y'all think about those emails. If you think that was a 3 or 4 or 2, y'all tell me what y'all think. But I personally felt that was really cool. In terms of the thing, I think he had a clear value proposition. He identified particular pain points in terms of employee recognition. He spoke about it from the gain side. He spoke about the social proof by Unicoma and Answer. The weaknesses there, yes, there were some instances where he just referenced OPAAT-SWY, all right? Yes, there were no links. I did my own research, that coming up here. So there were no links to support the content in terms of him sending me an email. And, well, again, my team size. But again, I'm not going to put too much links on that with these suggestions, because there's no way for him to know unless he makes a call. What I do like, and this is where I think in 2025, how you could use sales emails is in this regard. So the name of the company is G3 Hardware, and they're located in Arima. Here's the thing with this, and I want to get into your face a little bit with this. Last year, I spoke about the ADA principle, and I spoke about the buyer's journey. Sales, with all of the different touches, with all of the different strategies, with all of the different touches and strategies, could bring me into into the buyer's journey in a particular way. Let me explain. I did not know anything about this company, nothing. So I get the email catches my attention. I look through, there are no links to click. Okay, so I Googled. And when I Googled, what I got was the website, right? So I got the website, and then I also, what do people normally do? I check their TikTok. Their TikTok is popping, their Facebook is popping. So I am in the ADA principle, yo. So I'm now aware of the company. That's what the first emoji is about. And I kind of like what they do. So that's what the second emoji is about. I kind of built a relationship because I'm scrolling through their stuff. They have 6,000 followers on Facebook. They have a large number of followers as well. And I have shared this with people who I know in Arima, because what is in the TikTok is consistent to what is in the email. And I felt that it was a good offer, so I sent it out. Because I may not be an immediate customer, but I know somebody who could be. And even if that person is an individual, they're a customer because that person lives in Arima. So when I sent it via via TikTok, the person said, all right, cool, I'll check them out, because I know that person is doing work on their home. That is the power of using prospecting emails. No, it could have been the prospecting email first. It could have been a phone call first. It could have been a lead generation thing first. At the end of the day, multi-touch, different approaches. You are bringing people into the buyer's journey. So I've seen a couple of things here. Let me just quickly pause to acknowledge one or two comments, right? So Amalia is saying a lot of people actually don't even realize how there's an old school way of finding out what software a company is using, right? Because she's saying by visiting the website, Chrome settings, developer tools. I didn't even know that. So look, Amali's teaching me something here right now. I'll actually make sure I try to copy that and save it, right? Because again, there are different ways of doing that. So thank you very much, Amali. So for those of you who want to know, check out Amali's comments. Let me start that. I think that's a hot comment, right? Jad is acknowledging multi-touch approaches. Yeah. Well, here's the thing with the links to JB. Because it's a one-to-one email, because this is not an email marketing email. This is a one-to-one email. This is you taking time to send me an email. And even if you are using sequences, it's going to come directly in your inbox. It's not going to go to your junk like that. All right. The links, because I was looking for the link. So if there was a link that took me to your website or your social media, what would have happened is that if you are using tools like HubSpot, you would have gotten a notification, as you would know, JB, that the person opened the email. Then you would have gotten a notification that the person clicked on the email, and HubSpot can then give you some feedback on their web activity. So, well, providing that they may have converted at any particular point in time, but at the end of the day, you get notifications of the activity on the email, and from there, it's an additional trigger. And as you would know, every time that person opens that email again, then you would know, hey, this person is opening. Let me maybe make a phone call or send a second email and stuff like that. So there are some pros. There's some pros as far as I see it where that is concerned. Rhonda is saying because often sellers overlook a customer's point of purchase. I agree. Totally agree. So yeah, you have many different things as it relates to this, but the example I wanted to share here is by using an email, you put someone into that journey with you. You make someone aware of, I did not have any understanding of this company from before. And when I saw what I saw, as much as I am not an immediate customer, I follow them, and also I share because I know people up in Arima who doing certain things that they might benefit from that stuff from. And that's what we are supposed to be doing, as far as I'm concerned, where we create certain things in a particular way, right? So let's kind of move forward. I want to try to tie us up in a little bit, right? So coming back to this thing that I shared in the beginning, prospecting emails. So this is some results from myself and my team. There's only one other person on my team, which is Destiny. And what we do is that we would send out either our one-to-one emails, but we use a lot of sequences sometimes. And we try to follow the same principles of the things that I was saying to do some of the best practices of doing. And again, it varies. Like, again, I hear people saying certain things about emails. I can only speak of my results. And my results are very specific to Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean region. So with the emails that we would have sent out to 270, so we did 270 enrollments to 236 contacts. Let's look at the 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at the fourth one. We have a 50% or 54% open rate. And we have a 7 or 8% reply rate. That is what I would want to pay attention to. At least people are opening it. And once people open it, I want you to pay attention to this, right? If people are opening it, then even if only 8% reply, then there's a strategy that Destiny and I have where we will still reach out to the people who open but didn't reply. Because the objective is, yes, you want to get a reply, but we just want to leave it upon themselves. They've already done some level of engagement. The other side to that is, out of the 270 enrollments or the 236 contacts, we've been able to get 22 meetings booked. Yo, that's what we want, right? So yes, it says 8%, but it's also a strategy because, again, we want to be able to get meetings out of it. And again, when we are, and this is where sometimes the tool comes in. So again, as you all would know, this is HubSpot. So having something that kind of helps you understand your metrics, because if Destiny and I would have clicked either on this one or on this one, specifically on the one that says the open rates, we will be able to see who else we need to follow up on. And even so, the difference of the people who we haven't had meetings with us yet. Because again, you want to be able to drive your engagement. So that's why, again, the tools. So here's where the people, process, and technology comes in. Because I want to tie it back into that a little bit, right? I think I have some other stuff here, but I want to just talk about that a little bit, maybe before I close up. And there's some other things with best practices and stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit about the people, process, and technology. When we see things like that, from on the people side, this is where the training is. That's where the training sticks out. How do we now train people to write better emails, do better prospecting research, use the right tools? Well, let me just stick with the people side, right? Do the right research, understand more about the organization, and then analyze who are they reaching out to, because that is the research, that is your ICP, and then as how to go about writing good prospecting emails. That's 3 things you're training on right there. That's how I approach training. Because if you're not getting the return, then something wrong. Yeah, let's analyze your emails a little bit. Let's see what your metrics are. Let's see who you're reaching out to. How are you speaking to the CEO? How are you speaking to an end user of your product or service, etc., etc., etc. That's what we do. Break that shit down, so that we can now narrow down exactly where we think that we need to do the work, and then we do the work. On the process side, there may not be much of a process area here, but what you saw with the metrics is that the process can indicate, hey, if these people don't do this, then let's do this. So that's a strategy, process, / that kind of thing. And on the technology side, you have the technology that's helping you understand the areas of your process that you need to take action on and you need to train your people on. It's all tied into one thing. People, process, technology, but we're looking at the sales email. And when we say that, what's the deal with certain things as it relates to when we see things along the lines as to what's the deal with prospecting, it's not because prospecting is dead or calling is dead or all of these other things that people say. Sometimes we may not be doing it right. Because if the hardware could capture my attention and I could forward that as a potential lead to them, then they did that right. And we need to be, I didn't want to acknowledge the person because it looks as though that the gentleman is no longer there with the organization. I do hope though that the organization kept that strategy, because sometimes we don't try things long enough to see the results. But I think that was a good strategy. Y'all could give me your feedback on that. You know, I have Rhonda here saying that I would love to see more small business owners use process systems and data for prospecting. Right, you're speaking your language here. Same thing here, Rhonda. Definitely would love to see that as well. You know, it's not too much of a heavy investment once you do it the right way. Spoke to a small business this week, and one of the last things that we did, I pulled out pen and paper. It's like, tell me what your revenue target is, because this is how much you're going to spend in technology. And then we decided, you know what? Maybe we start with startup. It's not that hard. Every expense has to be tied back to our revenue. You know? So, and we have here, Alicia is saying that I appreciate the advice, and then sometimes we forget about the multi-touch approach. Years ago, I invested heavily in email marketing via MailChimp, but I've gained extensive experience in that area that I could use to revive my business. Thanks for this. And again, you're welcome. Remember, this is not email marketing. This is just sending a sales email, just as though you're typing it up from your send box to go to a person. You ain't even talking email marketing yet. That is a couple of weeks down the road. And there's a strategy for that as well too. All right. So if I just had to go back to this and I maybe close this up, I'll close this up a little bit with things along the lines as to the best practices. So I am going to be dropping a blog that's going to be talking a little bit about the best practices. I'm not going to go into that because I want to close up this particular segment. But again, the things that we do, there are some resources here that's on my website, whether you want to use technology to help you. And the second one, it's gotten so much more advanced now. Even in the free version of HubSpot, you can be using certain tools to help you do the things that Amali said as it relates to the research and scrubbing through websites. And on the first one, the number one step to prospecting, I'll give you the spoiler. It talks about your customer profile. That's where we start. Yeah. If you understand what you're selling, and then you understand your value proposition, and then you understand who that value proposition benefits, then you have the ability of writing better prospecting emails. Right? So the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking a little bit about VPs, about value propositions. We'll be talking a little bit about ICPs as well. But at the end of the day, what's the deal with sales emails, folks? Is that it's not all bad. It's not all bad. It just needs to be done the right way. All right. So I want to thank you all for your time. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed this with you all. All right. So take care. And thank you for watching. All right. Peace.